Beneath the multi-kilometre layer of ice that covers Antarctica lies a whole continent, the size of Australia, with vast mountains, deep valleys and lakes. The height of some mountain ranges reaches 3,000 metres, making them some of the highest in the world, while wide plains and winding frozen riverbeds create a striking contrast. Imagine these dark rocks, framing the icy expanses, suddenly revealing their secrets. The vibrant colours of mosses and lichens that could grow on the rock if the climate were warmer. In this hidden world, where the ice crust hides all life, there are lakes of which scientists are only beginning to learn, such as Lake Vostok, located under more than 3 kilometers of ice. This lake is the size of the Great Lakes in North America, and the temperature of its water remains around -30 degrees Celsius. Research shows that in these isolated waters, unique ecosystems may exist that have developed independently of the rest of the world over millions of years. For example, scientists from the University of California, Los Angeles, discovered microorganisms that can survive in extreme conditions, such as the absence of light and low temperatures. This discovery challenges our understanding of how life can adapt to the harshest conditions. Additionally, beneath the ice lie other natural resources, minerals such as coal and iron ore, which also await their turn. Deep valleys like the McMurdo Valley are true geological treasures where traces of ancient ice and climate change over millions of years can be found. Using radar-sounding technologies, scientists can create maps of the subglacial topography, revealing new details about the landscape hidden from human eyes. Each new layer of ice they study tells a story of how this continent has changed over centuries. Research shows that Antarctica was once part of the supercontinent Gondwana, which broke apart around 100 million years ago. This geological history helps us understand how the climate has changed over millions of years and what factors have influenced the formation of glaciers. All this information can have a significant impact on our understanding of global warming and its consequences for the planet. The hidden mountain ranges and valleys that we can only imagine are key to solving many questions facing modern society. For example, what will happen to global sea levels if the ice shields begin to melt? How will this affect climate conditions in other regions? These questions require careful study, and Antarctica, this icy continent with its unique ecosystems and geology, is a crucial part of this research. Studies conducted by international teams of scientists show that the glaciers of Antarctica are losing mass each year, and this change could have catastrophic consequences for the entire world. 80% of the fresh water on the planet is in the Antarctic ice, and its melting could lead to a rise in sea levels by several meters. Scientific data show that the rate of melting is increasing, causing concern among climate scientists and ecologists. Each new research project, from drilling into subglacial lakes to analyzing ice samples, brings new data and opens new horizons for understanding this mysterious continent. Beneath the thick ice of Antarctica lie entire lakes that could revolutionize our understanding of life on Earth. One of the most significant discoveries was Lake Vostok, found in the 1990s by Russian scientists. This subglacial lake has an area comparable to Lake Ontario and a depth of over 900 meters, making it one of the largest underground bodies of water on the planet. The discovery of Lake Vostok became possible thanks to radar studies conducted using Antarctic satellites and ground-based installations that could penetrate through the multi-meter layer of ice. These studies allowed scientists to map the subglacial landscape and uncover the presence of extensive water bodies hidden from human eyes for millions of years. The water in Lake Vostok remains liquid due to geothermal heat from the Earth's interior and the pressure of the ice, creating unique conditions for possible life. Scientists suggest that isolated ecosystems in these water bodies may be inhabited by ancient microorganisms that have evolved in complete darkness and stable temperatures. This discovery raises important questions about how life can exist in extreme conditions and what secrets this subglacial world holds. The study of Lake Vostok has been a significant step in understanding not only the nature of Antarctica, but also the possibilities for finding life on other planets, such as Europa, a moon of Jupiter, which also has subglacial oceans. Research in this area requires advanced technology and meticulous preparation due to the dangers posed by extreme conditions and the need to prevent contamination of these pristine ecosystems. scientists continue to analyze ice and water samples, which could provide new data on climate change on Earth and the history of the planet. 80% of the water in Lake Vostok is under the pressure of the ice cover, which can reach a thickness of up to 4 kilometers, making it one of the deepest and most mysterious water systems on the planet. Antarctica is a true treasure trove of fresh water, holding around 70% of all fresh water on the planet in the form of ice. If all the Antarctic ice were to melt, the global sea level would rise by 58 to 60 meters, drastically altering the world map. Imagine major cities like New York or London being submerged. This ice mass, spanning over 400,000 square kilometers, has no equal in purity, containing crystal clear water that has remained untouched for millennia. Each ice crystal, as it emerges into the light, refracts sunlight, creating unique shades of blue and turquoise that captivate the imagination. These colors remind us of nature's ability to create true masterpieces, unattainable by human hands. Ice formations can reach thicknesses of up to 4 kilometers, making them giants among other natural forms. Research indicates that this ice contains information about the climate that existed on Earth millions of years ago. Specifically, the analysis of air bubbles found in layered ice provides insights into the composition of the atmosphere during different geological epochs. These bubbles, containing ancient air, can reveal how the climate changed and what the levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere were. Scientific teams, such as the Vostok project, are extracting ice samples to study these bubbles, and their work may lead to a better understanding of current climate changes. Ice crystals can be remarkably strong, with a structure that is resistant to destruction, allowing them to maintain their shape even under intense pressure. This extraordinary ability of ice to retain its shape and purity makes Antarctica not only a crucial object of study, but also a unique natural archive, enabling us to look back into the past of our planet. Each cubic meter of this ice is not just frozen water, it is a whole story waiting to be discovered. Imagine the transformation of our planet as a result of the melting of Antarctic ice. According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, if temperatures continue to rise, the global sea level could increase by 1 meter by the end of the 21st century, leading to catastrophic consequences for coastal cities. The Netherlands, already protected by a system of dikes and canals, will be at risk of flooding, as more than 30% of their territory lies below sea level. In Bangladesh, where more than 100 million people live in low-lying areas, a rise in sea level could force millions to leave their homes. Venice, this unique city on water, which already suffers from frequent floods, could become completely inaccessible, and its famous canals will be flooded. St. Petersburg, with its historical architecture and cultural heritage, will also be in danger if the water level continues to rise. New Orleans, which suffered from Hurricane Katrina in 2005, will again face flooding, and its residents will have to confront the harsh reality when their city becomes a victim of water. The sound of retreating water will echo like a dull roar as it swallows streets and buildings, and the salty smell of the ocean will penetrate deeper into the continents, altering the familiar landscape. New shorelines will be defined not only by catastrophic events, but also by a slow, steady process that will take centuries. These will not be sudden changes, but the result of a slow but relentless pressure that will lead to irreversible consequences for the ecosystems living in these areas. For example, coral reefs, already threatened by rising water temperatures, will be destroyed, and fishing communities dependent on these ecosystems will face resource shortages. In some regions, such as Southeast Asia, climate change will increase the frequency and intensity of tropical cyclones, further exacerbating the situation and threatening the lives and livelihoods of millions of people. These changes will occur gradually, and although they may seem distant, the reality is that we must already consider their impact on our lives and the future of our planet. 80% of the world's population lives within 100 kilometers of the ocean, making us vulnerable to changes that many are not even aware of. Antarctic ice is not just frozen water, but a whole encyclopedia of ancient atmosphere. The ice caps covering this continent are formed from snow that falls on the surface and gradually compacts under its own weight. This process begins with the formation of firn, loose snow material, which then turns into dense ice. Over many years, snow accumulates and transforms into ice, resulting in tiny air bubbles, true time capsules, that preserve the atmosphere of past eras. These bubbles contain samples of air that existed on Earth thousands and even hundreds of thousands of years ago. For instance, research conducted in 2015 at stations in eastern Antarctica allowed scientists to extract ice samples older than 800,000 years. Each of these bubbles contains information about the composition of the atmosphere at that time, including the levels of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. This enables us to track climate changes on the planet and understand how human activity affects the atmosphere. Ice also contains particles of dust, volcanic ash, and other materials that could have traveled through the air for hundreds or thousands of years. For example, analysis of ice samples from the eastern Antarctic ice sheet revealed the presence of volcanic ash from eruptions in the Pacific region, allowing us to study volcanic activity throughout Earth's history. These studies show that Antarctic ice not only testifies to climatic conditions, but also serves as a vital source of information about geological processes that occurred on the planet. Each layer of ice is a story waiting to be told, and each air bubble is an opportunity to look into the past, revealing secrets that time has forgotten. Approximately 34 million years ago, when Antarctica began its journey towards becoming an icy desert, the continent's climate was significantly warmer. During this period, Antarctica was still part of the supercontinent Gondwana, where dense forests and diverse flora thrived. Gradually, as it separated from Gondwana and moved towards the South Pole, the temperature on the continent began to decrease. Scientific data indicates that this cooling occurred in several stages, with a sharp drop in temperature during the Eocene glaciation, around 33 million years ago. The landscape changed rapidly, primarily due to changes in vegetation. Lush forests of conifers and deciduous trees gave way to tundra. During this transitional period, conditions began to form for the first ice sheets. Glaciers started to accumulate on the heights of mountains, gradually descending into valleys, creating cracks and crevices. As a result of the movement of glaciers, which could reach thicknesses of up to 3 kilometers, deep fjords and valleys were formed, which we can observe today. By the end of the Oligocene, around 23 million years ago, the ice cover began to envelop a large part of the continent, forming a continuous ice shield. This shield became the main element of the Antarctic landscape, drastically altering its appearance and climatic conditions. Research shows that during this period, glaciers expanded, creating complex systems that continue to develop today. Gradually, with the increase in the mass of ice and pressure, tectonic changes occurred, which also influenced the climatic conditions, further contributing to the formation of the ice cover. These changes happened slowly but inevitably, forming ice caps and creating conditions for the extreme climate that we observe in Antarctica today. Ice shields became repositories of climatic data, which, through drilling, can be extracted and studied, allowing scientists to look into the past of our planet. Each ice sample provides insights into how the climate has evolved over millions of years, showing how the conditions of existence on Earth have gradually changed. The ice shield of Antarctica represents a powerful and complex system, divided into eastern and western shields, each with its unique characteristics. The eastern shield, covering approximately 7 million square kilometers, is more stable and less prone to changes than its western neighbor, which supports numerous glacial flows. These flows, like slow rivers, move from the continent's center to the ocean at speeds ranging from several centimeters to several meters per year, creating impressive ice formations visible from high above. For example, the Transantarctic Glacier, stretching over 3,000 kilometers, is one of the most famous glacial flows, slowly sliding towards the coast and forming ice shelves such as the Ross Ice Shelf, which can reach a width of around 400 kilometers at its widest point. These ice shelves play a crucial role in holding back ice masses, and their destruction could lead to a significant rise in global sea levels. As the ice moves, a soft creaking and grinding sound can be heard when massive ice blocks shift, collide, and break apart, creating deep rumbles that resemble loud hammer blows. Scientific research conducted in recent decades has provided data on how climate change affects the dynamics of these glacial flows. For instance, in 2015, scientists observed an acceleration of the melting of Western Antarctic glaciers, raising serious concerns about future sea levels. Specialists from NASA and other scientific institutions use satellite technology to monitor changes. Data show that some glaciers are losing up to 100 billion tons of ice per year. As the ice slowly flows, it forms various ice structures such as cracks and canyons, which become visible as the glacier moves. These natural phenomena not only impress with their scale, but also serve as important indicators of climate changes occurring on our planet. Recent studies show that the thickness of ice in some areas has decreased by more than 80 meters over the past 40 years, which is a worrying sign for ecosystems dependent on the stability of these ice masses. Antarctica, a vast ice continent, is not merely a silent mass of ice, but a powerful regulator of the planet's climate. The cold air that accumulates above it creates strong atmospheric circulation flows known as polar vortices. These vortices, formed due to the sharp temperature difference between the icy surface and warmer air masses, significantly influence global climate conditions. For instance, when polar vortices weaken, this can lead to abrupt weather changes in the northern hemisphere, resulting in both unusually warm winters and severe cold spells. The cold, deep waters formed around Antarctica play a crucial role in the global ocean conveyor. These waters, dense due to their low temperature and high salt content, sink to the ocean floor and begin their journey around the world. They affect thermohaline circulation, moving through the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans. As a result, this movement of cold waters maintains the stability of climate conditions in various regions, from the tropics to polar zones. Research conducted in 2009 showed that changes in the surface temperature of the northern Atlantic Ocean are directly linked to changes in Antarctic waters. Cold waters moving northward cool the warmer waters, altering ecosystems and affecting marine life, and ultimately the fishing industry. The interconnection between Antarctic ice sheets and global climate processes is so great that even small changes in their mass can have far-reaching consequences worldwide. For example, a 2 degrees Celsius warming in Antarctica could lead to a several-meter rise in global sea levels, threatening coastal cities and ecosystems. Data from NASA's satellite observations over the past 20 years show that Antarctic ice sheets are losing approximately 300 billion tons of ice annually, and this loss is increasing. It is important to understand that every change in Antarctica resonates in the most distant corners of the Earth, affecting weather, ecosystems, and human lives worldwide. Incredibly, the transformation of fluffy snowflakes into a solid ice monolith in Antarctica begins when the snowflakes covering the surface gradually lose their original lace-like structure. When snow falls, it forms a soft layer that initially appears as an ideal winter landscape. However, under the pressure of new layers of snow accumulating on the surface, compaction occurs. Initially, the snowflakes are compressed and turn into granular firn, a form of snow where the crystals begin to lose their air pockets. This stage can take from several years to decades, depending on the climatic conditions and the amount of snowfall. As more snow accumulates, the firn becomes denser, and its color changes from pristine white to light blue. This transition occurs because the air trapped between the ice crystals is expelled, and the material's density increases. In the next stage, crystalline ice forms, which can take from 100 to 300 years to fully transform. This ice becomes much more transparent and acquires a characteristic bluish tint. During the process of crystallization, the air that was previously trapped between the crystals is released, and the ice becomes dense and heavy, its structure becoming monolithic. This ice, which accumulates over thousands of years, forms ice sheets that can reach thicknesses of several kilometers. The compacting ice possesses unique properties. It can retain air bubbles that provide crucial data on past climates. Studies conducted in 2013 showed that the analysis of such bubbles allows scientists to reconstruct atmospheric conditions dating back 300,000 years. This process, from snow to ice, demonstrates that Antarctica is not just a frozen wasteland, but a dynamic system that holds the keys to understanding climatic changes on the planet. Under the immense pressure of ice masses that can reach up to 3 or 4 kilometers in height, extraordinary physical processes occur. about which many people do not even think. This weight creates colossal pressure, which squeezes air out of the crystalline lattice of ice, altering its structure. At depths where pressure reaches several hundred atmospheres, ice not only becomes denser, but also changes its crystalline form. In the upper layers, ice has the usual hexagonal structure, but at depth, it can transform into more dense forms such as cubic ice. These invisible transformations create unique conditions that can only be studied using complex research and technologies. For example, in 2008, a group of scientists led by Professor John Taylor from the University of Cambridge conducted a study that found that at a depth of about 2 kilometers, ice begins to behave like a plastic material, allowing it to move and deform under pressure. This discovery changed our understanding of the dynamics of glaciers and ice sheets. The temperature at the base of an ice sheet can reach 0 degrees Celsius or even higher due to the combination of pressure and geothermal heat, sometimes leading to the formation of subglacial lakes, such as Lake Vostok in Antarctica. This lake, trapped under a layer of ice 4 kilometers thick, retains liquid water at temperatures below zero due to high pressure. Such conditions create a unique habitat for microorganisms that can exist in absolute isolation from the external world for millions of years. Therefore, the study of subglacial lakes opens new horizons for understanding life on Earth and even on other planets where similar conditions may exist. At the depths of ice caps, not only physical but also chemical interactions occur. Minerals and salts dissolved in ice can affect its properties and behavior. Scientific research conducted at such depths helps to understand how ice influences the Earth's climate system and what changes may occur in the future. Using methods of radar interferometry, scientists can track the movement of glaciers and their interaction with the surrounding environment, which allows them to predict the consequences of climate change. Imagine a world where beneath a thick layer of ice lie ancient landscapes preserved in their original state for millions of years. These frozen forms of relief, such as mountains, valleys, and lakes, were entombed since the onset of glaciation, which began around 34 million years ago. This entire period of glacial cover, which today can reach thicknesses of up to 4 kilometers, has created unique conditions for the preservation of geological structures. For instance, in the region of the Transantarctic Mountains, scientists have discovered traces of ancient valleys that were once filled with rivers and lakes, but became unrecognizable with the advent of glaciation. Specifically, geologists like Dr. John Dean from the University of Otago have conducted research that shows some of these landscapes could have remained unchanged for millions of years, preserving their contours and features. These studies allow scientists to look back in time and understand what Antarctica looked like before glaciation. Using methods of geophysical sounding and drilling, scientists can obtain samples of sediments that contain information about the climatic conditions that existed in this area. For example, analysis of ice extracted from deep boreholes shows that in the past, the climate was significantly warmer, and there were extensive forests in Antarctica. Research shows that around 15 million years ago, in the region now covered by ice, there were coniferous trees such as horsetails and sequoias. These findings not only help reconstruct ancient ecosystems, but also understand how climate change affected the biological diversity of the region. Traveling to places like Lake Vostok, scientists can delve into this hidden history and see the remnants of ancient ecosystems buried under the ice. Scientists like Dr. Sergei Laptov from the Institute of Polar Research assert that studying such landscapes allows not only to restore the picture of the past, but also to make conclusions about possible future scenarios of climate change. It is important to note that such research can help understand the adaptation of ecosystems to changing environmental conditions. All this creates a unique atmosphere of a journey through time, allowing us to see what secrets the ancient forms of relief, hidden from human eyes, hold, and how this land has changed over millions of years. For example, recent research has revealed that under the ice cover of Antarctica, there are not only mountain systems, but entire lake complexes that could be the key to understanding the history of climate change on the planet. Scientists have found that under the ice there are traces of ancient rivers and lakes that could have formed millions of years ago. And this discovery changes our understanding of the continent's past. In particular, data on the structure of subglacial lakes shows that in some of them there could be unique organisms that have survived from those times. It's hard to imagine, but millions of years ago, Antarctica was completely different. This continent was once located at the center of the supercontinent Gondwana, which united modern-day South America, Africa, India, Australia, and Antarctica. Geological research shows that around 100 million years ago, before Gondwana split, Antarctica was covered in lush forests teeming with diverse plants and animals. Scientists have discovered fossils of ancient trees, such as araucarias and conifers, which indicate that the climate there was warm and humid. The sound of tropical downpours filled the air, creating an oppressive atmosphere where dinosaurs, including species like the Cretaceous lizard embla and many other now extinct creatures, thrived. The gradual movement of continents, which began around 100 million years ago, led to the isolation of Antarctica and its drift towards the South Pole. This movement caused significant climate changes, and by the end of the Cretaceous period, approximately 65 million years ago, the continent began to be covered in ice. Studies show that by the time Antarctica finally separated from other continents, the temperature there had dropped significantly, and it became an icy desert. Data on the paleoclimate indicate that around 40 million years ago, the process of active glaciation began, leading to the formation of giant ice sheets. These ice sheets, in turn, preserved traces of ancient ecosystems that once flourished on this continent. Beneath the ice cover, not only geological formations, but entire ecosystems are hidden, which can provide insights into how life adapted and changed in response to climate shifts. Fossils and other findings, such as the remains of ancient mammals, confirm that Antarctica once hosted diverse ecosystems about which we can only speculate. For example, scientists have found remains of ancient marine mammals that lived in coastal waters, and even fossils of tropical plants. These discoveries indicate that Antarctica was once home to exotic fauna and flora that could not survive in today's cold conditions. There is evidence that palms even grew on the continent, confirming its warm climate. Moreover, analysis of isotopes in fossils shows that temperature conditions in Antarctica were comparable to those in modern tropical regions, such as Florida or Brazil, highlighting the scale of climate changes that have occurred over millions of years. These data not only change our understanding of the geology and ecosystems of Antarctica, but also emphasize the importance of studying the ancient history of the continent for understanding contemporary climate changes. Did you know that tropical plants once grew in Antarctica and dinosaurs inhabited the continent? This might seem like science fiction, but fossils found in various parts of the continent confirm that millions of years ago, Antarctica was covered in dense forests and resembled a mix of modern tropical regions and temperate climates. Specifically, in the Transantarctic Mountains, archaeologists discovered the remains of ancient ferns, such as Glossopteris, which had broad leaves and could reach 2 meters in height. This vegetation thrived in warm, humid conditions, creating ideal habitats for a variety of animals. Fossilized remains of dinosaurs like Maiasaura and theropods indicate that they roamed the lands now covered in ice. These creatures were formidable predators, their cries echoing through the surroundings, creating a soundscape completely unlike the current icy silence. Scientists have also found traces of ancient mammals that may have been ancestors of modern sea lions. The scents of this world were filled with the aromas of moist earth and diverse plants, while today the air is filled with cold and silence. In recent decades, with the help of modern technologies such as radiocarbon dating, it has become possible to determine the age of individual finds. For example, the remains of Glossopteris are dated to approximately 30 million years ago, while some dinosaurs found in the same layers lived tens of millions of years later. Research shows that the climate in Antarctica changed from the Mesozoic era, when the continent was part of the supercontinent Gondwana, leading to significant glaciation. Findings such as these fossils provide a window into the past, allowing us to imagine what life was like in conditions that now seem unimaginable. Scientists like Dr. David Martin from the University of Melbourne continue to study these fossils to better understand the ecosystems that existed at the time. Each new excavation and discovery becomes a significant milestone on the path to understanding how the planet's climate system has changed and what consequences this has had for living organisms. The facts about the existence of heat-loving plants and animals in Antarctica make us ponder how much our world has changed over millions of years. When the planet's climate began to change, Antarctica witnessed one of the most dramatic transformations in Earth's history. About 34 million years ago, glaciers started to form on the continent, signaling the onset of global cooling. This era is known as the Eocene, and during this period, the planet's temperature gradually decreased, while the landscape of Antarctica underwent significant changes. Forests that once covered vast areas began to retreat, giving way to harsh conditions. Green landscapes were replaced by cold steppes, and the soil began to freeze. Animals accustomed to a warmer climate started to migrate in search of more favorable conditions, while others went extinct in the harsh conditions they were not adapted to. For example, the remains of ancient mammals like Paraceratherium show that they were unable to adapt to the rapidly changing conditions. Gradually, over millions of years, glaciers began to fill valleys and mountain peaks, and the temperature continued to drop. The complete glaciation of Antarctica occurred around 14 million years ago, when the climate became so severe that glaciers covered the entire continent, transforming it into an icy kingdom. This process was not sudden. It took millions of years, and each generation of animals and plants faced new challenges. As a result, during the time when Antarctica was covered with dense forests, it was home to diverse ecosystems that began to disappear with the onset of cold. Paleontologists have found fossils indicating that species such as dolphins and sea turtles once inhabited the continent. With each million years, the ice caps became thicker, and by the beginning of the Ice Age, approximately 3 million years ago, the temperature on the continent dropped to minus 20 degrees Celsius. This ice cover not only served as a physical barrier, but also altered global climate patterns, leading to further changes on the entire planet. Consequently, Antarctica, once teeming with life, became a lifeless icy desert where the temperature remains below zero almost year-round. Plate tectonics played a pivotal role in shaping the climate of Antarctica, and the separation of this continent from Australia and South America marked the beginning of new geological and climatic processes. Approximately 30 million years ago, during the Eocene epoch, Antarctica separated from Australia and subsequently from South America, which led to the formation of the circumpolar current. This current created a powerful cold barrier around the continent, isolating it from warm equatorial waters. As a result, the water temperature in the vicinity of Antarctica significantly decreased, creating unique conditions for the formation of the ice sheet. This process did not occur instantaneously. Over millions of years, the water cooled, and extensive ice masses began to form on the continent's surface. Additionally, the circumpolar current became a crucial element of global oceanic circulation, influencing climatic conditions far beyond Antarctica. The deterioration of the climate on the continent meant that changes also occurred in other parts of the world. For instance, in the tropical zones, drier conditions began to form, which later contributed to the emergence of deserts. This cold oceanic barrier not only isolated Antarctica, but also altered atmospheric flows, leading to changes in weather patterns on the planet. Powerful cold air currents from Antarctica influenced the formation of cyclones and anticyclones, altering the usual wind patterns. Such changes in oceanic circulation, occurring over millions of years, became foundational for the formation of modern climatic conditions on Earth. The existence of vast ice sheets that formed on Antarctica became a key factor influencing not only the climate of the continent, but also the level of the world ocean and its temperature regime. Consequently, the global warming occurring in recent decades is directly linked to changes in this ancient but still active climatic mechanism. The circumpolar current, formed as a result of tectonic processes, continues to maintain its significance in the Earth's climate system, and its influence is felt thousands of kilometers away from the Antarctic shores. Long ago, when the world maps were still filled with blank spaces, explorers dreamed of unknown lands that beckoned with their mysteries. In the 18th century, Captain James Cook embarked on 3 expeditions in search of the southern continent, becoming the first European to cross the southern polar circle in 1773. Although his voyages led to the discovery of numerous islands in the Pacific Ocean, he never saw the continent of Antarctica itself, merely encountering vast expanses of ice and endless cold waters that groaned under the pressure of the ship's rigging. Snow and icy winds scorched the faces of the sailors as they battled storms, while in the distance, the ice fields sparkled like millions of diamonds, evoking an indescribable sense of awe and fear before the majesty of nature. It took more than half a century before, in 1820, Russian sailors Fadej Bellingshausen and Mikhail Lazarev on the sloops Vostok and Mirny became the first to sight the shores of Antarctica. Their expedition was meticulously planned, and they spent 2 years at sea, exploring the southern latitudes. As their ships approached the coast, sailors felt the cold wind rush past, and the sounds of cracking ice echoed around, creating an atmosphere of the unknown. They witnessed magnificent ice walls, 30 meters high, and colossal icebergs, majestically floating on the water like giant sculptures carved by nature itself. The air was filled with freshness and sharpness, making hearts beat faster. Throughout the voyage, sailors recorded their observations, documenting every detail in journals that became valuable historical records. When Bellingshausen and Lazarev first saw this mysterious continent, they not only became the first explorers, but also opened a new era in geography and science, fundamentally altering humanity's understanding of the Earth. Their discoveries led to further exploration of Antarctica, including the study of its ecosystems and geological features, which had remained a mystery for centuries. Antarctic exploration became a stage for heroic deeds and tragic losses, as researchers ventured into uncharted lands filled with dangers. In the early 20th century, in 1910, Norwegian explorer Roald Amundsen decided to outdo his rivals and be the first to reach the South Pole. He meticulously prepared his expedition, employing Inuit methods and basing his team on the experience of previous Antarctic expeditions. Meanwhile, British polar explorer Robert Falcon Scott also aimed for this goal, setting out in 1911 with the expedition Terra Nova. Their rivalry became a symbol of humanity's drive to overcome limits and the spirit of adventure. Scott and his team faced horrendous conditions: temperatures down to minus 50 degrees Celsius, constant hunger, and depletion of resources. In the end, in 1912, Scott and his team reached the pole, only to find that Amundsen had beaten them by 8 days. The return journey became a nightmare. All members of the expedition perished, despite their extraordinary courage, without receiving help. Meanwhile, in 1917, Ernest Shackleton embarked on his own expedition aboard the ship Endurance. His team encountered the ship being crushed by ice, but Shackleton demonstrated exceptional leadership, organizing an incredible rescue. He and his team spent more than 7 months in extreme conditions, crossing icy waters in lifeboats, traversing endless white snow, and suffering from hunger. The physical trials were unbearable. Many suffered from frostbite and exhaustion, but psychological resilience became their true weapon. Shackleton, displaying true bravery, kept the team's spirits high despite all the difficulties. In the end, in 1918, after many months of battling nature, they reached South Georgia Island, where they were able to obtain help. These expeditions were not just pages in history, but examples of human resilience in the face of unpredictable natural forces. Throughout these years, polar explorers left their mark on history, each paying a price for their quest for knowledge. In recent decades, Antarctica has become a subject of active scientific research supported by advanced technologies. In 1996, American scientists began the Vostok project, during which they explored subglacial lakes located under a multi-kilometer layer of ice. These lakes, such as Lake Vostok, contain unique ecosystems that have remained isolated for millions of years. To access these waters, ice drills are used, capable of penetrating to depths of up to 4 kilometers. These devices resemble massive machines with long steel rods that rotate at high speeds, producing a deep humming sound similar to that of a construction drill. Scientists monitor the drilling process through control panels that display data on temperature, pressure, and depth. When the drill reaches the lake, a jet of water erupts, indicating that life still exists under the thick layer of ice. Submersible robots, such as Sabre, are also actively used to explore these subglacial lakes. These robots are equipped with cameras and sensors that can measure the temperature and oxygen levels in the water. They resemble small submarines that swim under the ice, producing characteristic hissing sounds. The control of these robots is carried out via satellite communication, allowing scientists to be thousands of kilometers away from the research site. In the harsh Antarctic environment, where temperatures often drop below -40 degrees, these technologies open new horizons for understanding the climate and ecosystems of the planet. For example, in 2020, an Australian research team used robotic devices to study microorganisms in subglacial lakes, revealing how life adapts to extreme conditions. Advanced technologies not only allow data collection, but also enable scientists to draw conclusions about global climate changes, which is crucial for science. While icy winds howl outside, scientists in the warmth of their stations process the collected data, trying to unravel the mysteries that nature has kept for millions of years. In such conditions, the contrast between the struggle against nature and the high level of technology becomes particularly striking. Few people realize that scientists use advanced technologies, such as radar and seismic methods, to study subglacial landscapes. Radar systems send radio waves that penetrate the ice and reflect off the boundary between the ice and the subglacial surface. These reflected signals are recorded and processed to create radargrams, graphical representations of the deep profile of the subglacial topography. For example, a group of scientists led by Dr. Emily Smith from the University of Cambridge's Polar Research Institute used radar to map the subglacial Lake Vostok, which is located under nearly 4 kilometers of ice. The data revealed a complex system of channels and structures that were previously unknown. Seismic methods, on the other hand, use artificially created sound waves that penetrate the ice and reflect off various layers beneath the surface. These reflections help create a three-dimensional picture of the hidden landscape, allowing researchers to understand how glaciers form and interact with their surroundings. For instance, in 2012, during a marine expedition in Greenland, seismic equipment revealed that beneath certain ice areas lie massive subglacial canyons that can affect the dynamics of glacier movement. These data open new horizons for understanding the impact of climate change on Arctic regions and help predict how global warming will influence sea levels in the future. It is important to note that such research requires high precision and modern equipment, as even small errors can lead to incorrect conclusions. With these technologies, scientists not only obtain unique data about our climate and geography, but also open new avenues for future research that could change our understanding of glacial systems and their role in the global ecosystem. Complex radargrams and seismic data form the basis for developing new theories about how glaciers respond to temperature changes and how they influence global sea levels. The subglacial topography, hidden beneath the thick ice, significantly influences the behavior of glaciers, which is directly linked to the dynamics of global climate. Research conducted in 2018 by an international team of geophysicists showed that the shape of the subglacial landscape determines how glaciers move. For instance, deep valleys formed through erosion guide the flow of ice down slopes, while mountain ranges act as natural barriers, slowing the movement of ice masses. Glaciers like the Greenland ice sheet demonstrate these effects clearly. Their movement speed varies from several centimeters to meters per year, depending on the configuration of the subglacial topography. Subglacial lakes and meltwater areas play a crucial role in this process, functioning as a lubricant that accelerates ice movement. In 2012, a study using radar and satellite data revealed that subglacial lakes can form and periodically disappear, affecting the speed of glacier movement and changing their dynamics and stability. For example, the Jakobshavn Glacier on the eastern coast of Greenland was found to increase its movement by 90% when subglacial lakes form and water begins to flow beneath the ice. This highlights the interconnectedness between the invisible subglacial world and visible surface processes, where temperature changes cause ice melt, which in turn affects sea level. Understanding these complex interrelationships is critically important for predicting future changes in the ice sheet. Unpredictable fluctuations in glacier dynamics can drastically alter global sea levels, necessitating continuous monitoring and new analysis methods. For instance, in 2020, scientists from the University of Cambridge developed data analysis methods that allow for more accurate predictions of how glaciers will respond to climate change. These advancements help create more precise climate models that account for the influence of subglacial topography on glacier dynamics. Imagine a frozen river, moving like a powerful beast, slowly but relentlessly pushing its way from the heart of Antarctica towards the coast. Majestic glaciers, formed over millions of years, continue their endless journey, driven by the force of gravity and internal processes. Ice masses, reaching tens of kilometers in width and up to 4 kilometers in thickness, slowly glide over the continent's landscape, compressing everything in their path. These glacial flows, such as the Ron Glacier, form ice shields that change under the influence of temperature and precipitation, creating unique conditions for studying climate change. At the boundary of glaciers and the ocean, shelf glaciers form, like the Larsen Ice Shelf, which appear as massive plates floating on the water's surface. These glaciers are subject to destruction, and each year they lose enormous chunks of ice that break off, forming icebergs the size of small countries. The largest recorded iceberg, a 68, had an area of about 5,000 square kilometers and broke off from the Larsen Ice Shelf in 2017. When an iceberg breaks off, one can hear a thunderous sound, reminiscent of thunder, and the ground underfoot begins to vibrate, as if foreshadowing a catastrophe. These acoustic phenomena, from the quiet cracking of ice to the powerful roaring sound, create an atmosphere of awe-inspiring and frightening spectacle. Scientists from the Scripps Institution of Oceanography in the United States study the dynamics of glacier movement using technologies such as radar systems and satellite observations, which allow them to track changes in ice masses in real time. These technologies help understand how temperature changes affect the speed and direction of glacier movement. For example, in 2019, researchers found that the Thwaites Glacier, located on the western coast of Antarctica, is moving towards the ocean at a speed of more than 3 kilometers per year, which could have catastrophic consequences for sea level. The flow of ice, which can vary depending on temperature and pressure, is a complex system influenced by many factors, including warm water currents beneath the glaciers. As a result, even small changes in ocean temperature can have significant consequences for these giant ice formations. The perception of ice movement becomes a real challenge for a person standing on the surface of an active glacier, feeling as if life is happening beneath them, as the ice slowly but surely continues its journey towards the ocean. Beneath the thick ice cover of Antarctica lies not only ice, but also powerful geothermal heat sources that play a critical role in the movement of this massive ice sheet. Geothermal heat emanating from the Earth's interior warms the lower layers of the ice sheet and sometimes causes melting at its base. This phenomenon is observed, for example, near the volcano Erebus, where temperatures can reach over 100 degrees Celsius. Volcanic activity beneath the ice cover creates unique geothermal zones where hot springs break through the ice, forming peculiar oases of warmth amidst the icy desert. These sources not only warm the ice, but also create conditions for the formation of subglacial lakes, such as Lake Vostok, located beneath nearly 4 kilometers of ice. The temperature of the water in this lake is maintained by geothermal heat, allowing it to remain liquid despite the extreme conditions on the surface. Water formed by melting at the base acts as a lubricant, facilitating the movement of glaciers over the underlying surface. This results in glaciers moving significantly faster than previously thought. For instance, the Totten Glacier in eastern Antarctica has increased its speed by 30% over the past few decades, which is linked to an increase in geothermal heat and subsequent ice melting. The contrast between the icy cold of the surface and the hidden heat deep below becomes particularly evident in places like the Antarctic Peninsula, where air temperatures can drop below -40 degrees Celsius, while temperatures beneath the ice sheets can exceed zero. This highlights the complexity and dynamism of the Antarctic ecosystem, where ice and heat interact in constant motion, creating unique conditions for life in the harshest conditions on the planet. Research conducted by scientists from the University of British Columbia shows that this interaction between geothermal heat and glacial processes may play a key role in future sea levels, as ice melting is directly linked to climate change. It is hard to imagine, but hidden in the dark depths of Antarctic waters are ecosystems teeming with unique creatures that have adapted to extreme conditions. In these cold waters, giant spiders, reaching up to 30 centimeters in length, crawl along the seabed, leaving thin trails on soft sand. These spiders possess unique abilities. They can survive in low pressure and cold conditions thanks to special proteins that protect their cells from damage. Among these spiders live fish with antifreeze in their blood, such as the spiky fish, which can withstand temperatures down to -2 degrees Celsius. This antifreeze allows them to maintain the fluidity of their blood and avoid the formation of ice crystals inside their bodies, which is crucial for their survival. Additionally, in Antarctic waters, one can encounter a variety of invertebrates, including sea lemurs, which have vibrant colors and peculiar shapes. Their bodies are covered in tentacles that help them catch food and protect themselves from predators. These creatures move slowly across the seabed, their movements almost meditative, as if they are dancing in the cold water. In the darkness of the depths, they glow due to bioluminescence, creating a mesmerizing spectacle that resembles a starry sky reflected in the water. In such conditions, where water temperature can drop to -20 degrees, life takes on extraordinary forms. For example, some types of sea stars can grow up to 1 meter in diameter and change color depending on their surroundings, helping them blend in with the seabed and avoid predators. This phenomenon is called camouflage, and it allows them to be invisible against the backdrop of underwater rocks. These adaptations illustrate the incredible resilience and ingenuity of life in conditions that would be fatal for most organisms. Research conducted by scientists from the Scripps Institution of Oceanography shows that the depths of Antarctica are full of mysteries, and many organisms have not yet been described. For instance, in 2018, researchers discovered a new species of deep-sea fish, the Antarctic whitefish, which inhabits depths of over 3,000 meters. These fish have a unique structure of fins that allows them to maneuver effectively in the high-density water. The deep-sea ecosystems of Antarctica continue to be the subject of active research, as their study can provide insights into the adaptation of life to extreme conditions. For example, special proteins found in the bodies of Antarctic organisms could have applications in medicine, helping to preserve human cells at low temperatures. These studies open new horizons in science, demonstrating that even in the most challenging conditions, life finds a way to thrive. Bioluminescence in the deep waters of Antarctica is a remarkable phenomenon that occurs due to the ability of certain organisms to produce their own light. This glow is caused by the presence of specialized organs or symbiotic bacteria that emit light waves during chemical reactions. For example, organisms like the Antarctic icefish can emit a blue light, which helps them attract prey in the dark waters. Deep-sea squids, such as those of the genus Vampiroteuthis, use red bioluminescence to create an illusion of danger, scaring off predators. Additionally, this bioluminescence helps them find partners for reproduction in the vast expanses of the ocean. The colors they emit range from bright blue to greenish and even reddish, creating mesmerizing scenes in the ocean depths. However, bioluminescence is not the only trick nature has up its sleeve for the inhabitants of Antarctica. Many of them possess unique adaptations that allow them to survive in extreme conditions. For instance, some fish species, such as the icefish, have transparent bodies, making them less visible to predators. This property also helps them conserve energy in cold water, where temperatures are close to zero. Icefish can survive temperatures close to the freezing point due to a special antifreeze protein in their blood that prevents ice formation in their cells. Other deep-sea organisms, such as anemones and jellyfish, have adapted to low light and high-pressure conditions by developing the ability to regenerate and form symbiotic relationships with bacteria that help them obtain necessary nutrients. For example, jellyfish of the genus Echorea use symbiotic bacteria to produce their own light, making them even more fascinating creatures. Bioluminescence and the unique adaptations of these organisms not only highlight the beauty and complexity of the marine ecosystem, but also provide scientists with a deeper understanding of the mechanisms by which life can survive in seemingly inhospitable conditions. Many researchers, such as Dr. James Costello from the University of California, Santa Barbara, continue to study these phenomena to uncover the secrets of the deep ocean and understand how organisms adapt to non-standard living conditions. It is interesting to note that studying these features can lead to new biomedicine technologies and materials that can be used in various fields, from medicine to ecology. In such extreme environments as the Antarctic depths, life not only survives, but also finds ways to not just adapt, but to thrive. Life in Antarctica manifests in the most extraordinary forms, and microbial life here is one of the most striking examples. In dry valleys where precipitation is virtually non-existent, microorganisms such as bacteria and archaea thrive at temperatures as low as -20 degrees Celsius. One such species, Halococcus, inhabits salty lakes where salt concentration is 10 times higher than in the ocean. These organisms do not just survive. They employ unique metabolic pathways to obtain energy in conditions where resources are extremely limited. They can remain in a state of dormancy or inactivity for decades and still reactivate when conditions become more favorable. This remarkable ability not only allows them to survive, but also to preserve genetic information over long periods. Within porous rocks that retain moisture, microbes capable of using minerals as energy sources have been found. These microorganisms, such as Cruococcidiopsis, can survive in conditions where temperatures fluctuate from -30 to +50 degrees Celsius. Their resistance to radiation and other stressful factors makes them ideal candidates for studying the possibility of life on other planets, such as Mars or Europa, Jupiter's moon, where conditions are also extremely hostile. Research into microbial life in such extreme conditions helps scientists understand how life can adapt and survive in places where it seems impossible. One such study was conducted in 2020 by a group of scientists from the British Antarctic Institute who examined ice samples from depths of over 100 meters and found that even in seemingly dead ice, live organisms could be present. They used specialized sequencing methods to identify genetic information and determine which species might be in a state of hibernation, awaiting suitable conditions to resume activity. This work opens new horizons for astrobiology and biotechnology, as scientists begin to realize that life on Earth is diverse and ingenious. For example, in 2012, microbes were discovered in Lake Vostok, frozen under a thick layer of ice, which seemed to have lived in isolation for millions of years. Studying these organisms not only expands our knowledge of the limits of life, but also opens new possibilities for using their unique properties in biomedicine and ecology. Microbial communities in Antarctica demonstrate that even in the harshest conditions on Earth, life finds ways to adapt and thrive, utilizing all available resources. Subglacial lakes are true natural enigmas, hidden beneath a thick layer of ice and isolated from the outside world for millions of years. One of the most famous is Lake Vostok, located in Antarctica, which covers an area of over 11,000 square kilometers and has a depth of more than 3 kilometers. This lake is not only the largest subglacial lake, but also one of the oldest, with an estimated age of over 25 million years. The unique ecosystem of Lake Vostok includes microorganisms that are believed to have evolved in complete isolation, adapting to conditions found nowhere else on Earth. These organisms may possess properties that could be beneficial in medicine and biotechnology. Lake Wilkes, located in the West Antarctic region, also attracts the attention of scientists. It is significantly smaller than Lake Vostok, but its water contains a high concentration of dissolved substances, making it unique. Water samples from this lake contain microorganisms that survive in low temperature and high salt conditions. Researchers collect water samples using specialized equipment to avoid contamination, as any impurity could disrupt the natural balance of the ecosystem. In this process, sterile technologies are used, such as the use of manual drills and closed systems for sample extraction. Lake Ellsworth, also located in Antarctica, differs from the previous ones as its water bodies are connected to underground river systems, giving them a unique dynamics. The chemical composition of the water in these lakes differs from oceanic water. For example, some of them contain high concentrations of methane, indicating active biochemical processes. These subglacial water bodies may contain organisms unknown to science, which have evolved in conditions similar to prehistoric epochs. Research shows that life in such isolated ecosystems can provide insights into how life might exist on other planets, such as Europa, a moon of Jupiter that is also covered in ice. Scientific expeditions continue, and each new discovery opens doors to understanding ancient, untouched worlds that exist in complete isolation from the modern biosphere. As a result, such research can fundamentally change our understanding of what it means to be alive. Subglacial lakes in Antarctica represent unique ecosystems that can serve as important indicators of the existence of life on other planets. Research shows that these bodies of water, located under a multi-kilometer layer of ice, maintain conditions similar to those observed on the icy moons of Jupiter, Europa, and Ganymede, as well as on Saturn's moon Enceladus. For instance, Lake Vostok, one of the most famous, has a volume of water in the order of 15,000 cubic kilometers and is located under a layer of ice about 4 kilometers thick. Scientists believe that in such conditions, liquid water may exist, opening possibilities for studying microbial life. In the 21st century, researchers from the Russian Academy of Sciences first drilled through the ice and extracted samples of water from Lake Vostok, which contained microorganisms capable of surviving in extreme conditions. These findings confirm the hypothesis that similar ecosystems may exist on other celestial bodies, such as Europa, where there are likely to be subglacial oceans beneath the icy crust. In recent years, scientists have been developing new technologies and methods to study subglacial lakes more effectively. For example, the use of autonomous underwater vehicles like Pandora allows for detailed research without direct human intervention. These technologies can be adapted for missions to other planets where conditions are similar to those in Antarctic lakes. Thus, the study of subglacial lakes in Antarctica is becoming a kind of laboratory where approaches are tested that could be applied to other planets in the future. If life can exist in isolated subglacial lakes in Antarctica, this opens new horizons in the search for life on other celestial bodies, such as Europa or Enceladus. As practice shows, conditions on these moons may be sufficiently suitable for the existence of life, making them priority objects for future missions. Ice cores from Antarctica serve as genuine archives of ancient climates, containing information about the state of Earth over hundreds of thousands of years. These cylindrical samples, with diameters of about 10 centimeters and lengths of up to several kilometers, are collected using specialized drills that penetrate ice layers. Each core represents a sequence of layers that accumulated year by year, similar to the rings in a tree trunk. These layers differ in color and density, allowing scientists to determine temperature and atmospheric composition changes throughout different historical periods. For instance, light layers may indicate cold years, while dark layers suggest warmer periods. By analyzing these layers, researchers can reconstruct past climate conditions, including temperature fluctuations, carbon dioxide levels, and even volcanic activity data. The deepest ice cores contain ice up to 800,000 years old, making them invaluable for studying Earth's history. Scientists like Dr. David Carton from the Climate Change Research Laboratory in the US use data from ice cores to model climate changes and predict future scenarios. These studies show how human activities impact the climate and what potential consequences may arise. Each centimeter of ice in a core is a page in the history book of our planet, recording not only climate changes, but also events that could have influenced life on Earth. Samples extracted from the depths of Antarctica allow us to delve into the past and obtain unique data on how our planet responded to natural and anthropogenic changes. Ice cores are not just ice. They are repositories of information that help us understand the complex mechanisms of climate processes. In the process of analyzing cores, scientists find that climate changes occurred at different speeds, and this knowledge may be crucial for adapting to current challenges. To extract ice cores, scientists use specialized drilling rigs capable of penetrating ice cover to depths of up to 30 meters and sometimes more. The process begins with selecting a drilling site, which requires careful analysis of previous research and climate models. Drilling rigs, such as those from Ice Drilling Design or Hot Water Drill, enable the retrieval of perfectly cylindrical ice samples that preserve annual layers, much like the pages of a book, documenting climate changes over millennia. After extraction, the cores are carefully packaged in protective containers to minimize the risk of damage and transported to specialized laboratories where the temperature is maintained at a stable -18 degrees Celsius. In the laboratories, researchers conduct detailed analyses, starting with a visual inspection to determine which ice layers retain the most information about climate. They use specialized microscopes and instruments to measure layer thicknesses and study inclusions of dust or marine organisms. More complex methods include mass spectrometry analysis, which allows for the determination of the composition of air bubbles trapped in the ice, as well as the isotopic composition of the ice itself, revealing the temperatures of different epochs. These studies are carried out using equipment developed at institutions such as the Laboratory for Climate Change Research at the University of Colorado, or the Alfred Wegener Institute for Polar and Marine Research in Germany. Thus, through ice cores, scientists can obtain data on the composition of the atmosphere, levels of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases over the past 400,000 years. This process demands patience and high precision, as any error can lead to a distorted climate picture. Reconstructing Earth's climate history is not just an intriguing task, but a genuine scientific odyssey. Scientists use ice cores to extract information about temperature and atmospheric composition preserved in air bubbles trapped in multi-year ice. To determine the temperatures of past epochs, specialists analyze the ratio of oxygen isotopes in water molecules. For instance, in the 20th century, research conducted in Antarctica established that the ratio of oxygen 18 to oxygen 16 in water molecules reflects the temperature conditions at the time the ice formed. This method allows for precise determination of the temperatures on Earth during different historical periods. Analysis of air bubbles in ice cores also enables the assessment of the concentration of carbon dioxide, methane, and other greenhouse gases in ancient atmospheres. For example, a study of ice cores from Greenland conducted in 2008 revealed that the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere reached a peak of around 300 parts per million between the last ice age and the present warm period. These data confirm the cyclical nature of Earth's climate, with ice ages followed by interglacial periods. Over the past millions of years, Earth has experienced numerous such cycles, each lasting thousands of years. Modern analysis methods allow scientists to travel through time, reconstructing the climate history of the planet. For example, based on data from ice cores obtained in Greenland and Antarctica, it is possible to observe how the planet's temperature changed in response to natural fluctuations in solar activity and volcanic activity. Some studies conducted in the 2010s showed that during interglacial periods, the temperature on Earth increased by several degrees, allowing glaciers to retreat and creating warmer conditions for life. However, despite natural cycles, contemporary climate change is occurring at an unprecedented rate. For instance, in 2020, the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere exceeded 480 parts per million, the highest level in the last 800,000 years, according to data from ice cores. Scientists note that the rate of increase in greenhouse gas concentrations in the atmosphere in the 21st century far outpaces any natural changes recorded in the past. The data indicate that if no action is taken, the consequences could be catastrophic for ecosystems and the climate of the entire planet. Not everyone knows that volcanic activity in Antarctica can significantly alter the planet's climate. The continent is home to active volcanoes such as Erebus, Melbourne, and Deception, each contributing to the complex ecosystem of this region. Mount Erebus, with its height of 4,800 meters, is renowned for its constant fumaroles that emit columns of steam and sulfur gas, rising above the snow-capped peaks and creating a stark contrast between the whiteness of the ice and the black volcanic ash. It is one of the most active volcanoes on the planet, with periodic eruptions occurring on average every few years, the last of which happened in 2018. Mount Melbourne, standing at 3,200 meters, also exhibits activity by ejecting hot gases and lava, whose red glow is visible even from a distance when darkness envelops Antarctica. Mount Deception, surrounded by glaciers and the sea, is a unique example of volcanism, as it is located at the bottom of a caldera formed by previous eruptions. The eruptions of these volcanoes not only affect the local landscape, but also have a significant impact on the ice cover, creating melt zones at the base of glaciers. This melting weakens the structure of glaciers and could potentially raise the global sea level. Volcanic activity can also release particles into the atmosphere that reflect solar radiation, causing short-term climate changes. For instance, the eruption of Mount Erebus in 1985 led to an increase in sulfur concentration in the atmosphere, contributing to a temporary cooling of global climate conditions. The smell of sulfur, carried by the cold air, serves as a constant reminder that beneath the ice cover lie not only frozen expanses, but also active geological processes capable of influencing global climate conditions. Volcanic activity in the Antarctic continent is not just an interesting fact. It is a real threat to the stability of glaciers and, consequently, to the entire global climate. In recent decades, researchers have noted an increase in volcanic activity, which has raised concerns among scientists studying climate change and its consequences. The ice cover of Antarctica serves not only as a frozen landscape, but also as an archive that can tell the story of millions of years of Earth's climate history. These ice masses reflect the Milankovitch cycles, astronomical changes in the orbit, and the tilt of Earth's axis, which occur over tens of thousands of years and influence the amount of solar radiation reaching the planet. These cycles include three main aspects: the eccentricity of the orbit, the tilt of the axis, and the precession of the axis. For example, the eccentricity changes from nearly circular to more elongated every 100,000 years. The tilt of Earth's axis varies from 22 to 26 degrees over a period of about 40,000 years, while the precession of the axis occurs with a periodicity of about 2,600 years. All these changes trigger mechanisms that lead to global climate changes, affecting the distribution of glaciers, sea levels, and surface temperatures. Ice cores extracted from the depths of Antarctica provide invaluable data on past climates. For instance, in 2006, researchers from the National Science Foundation of the USA and the Australian Antarctic Division drilled a core from ice to a depth of more than 3 kilometres, obtaining samples that date back more than 800,000 years. These samples show how the concentration of carbon dioxide and methane in the atmosphere varied depending on temperature changes, clearly indicating the link between climate and the levels of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. During warm climatic periods, such as interglacial epochs, the level of carbon dioxide reached more than 300 parts per million, while during glacial periods, it fell to 200 parts. This information allows us not only to understand how climate responded to natural changes, but also to predict how it may change in the future under the influence of anthropogenic factors. The assessment of these Milankovitch cycles helps to better understand the mechanisms behind the last major climate changes on Earth, including glacial and interglacial epochs. Thus, the ice masses of Antarctica serve not only as a repository of ancient climate data, but also as a significant indicator of how changes in Earth's orbit can have a serious impact on the planet's climate system. 80% of the fresh water on the planet is contained in these ice caps, and changes in their volume can lead to catastrophic consequences for sea levels on a global scale. In Antarctica, there is a unique place that is completely unlike the familiar image of this icy land. This is the dry valleys of McMurdo, where a stunning landscape reigns, reminiscent of alien landscapes. These ice-free territories, spanning over 300 square kilometres, are remarkable for their diverse forms of relief and colour palette. Reddish-brown rocks, covered with a dark desert tan, contrast with the bright white salt crystals that form on the shores of dried-up lakes. These lakes have salty water, further highlighting the uniqueness of this region, as it lacks surface ice, unlike the rest of Antarctica. The ancient riverbeds that once flowed through these lands now serve as stony channels, a reminder that life may have once existed here. These valleys remain ice-free due to a combination of factors. Strong katabatic winds blowing from the icy peaks blow away the snow, and the low humidity of the air prevents it from accumulating. As a result, despite being one of the coldest points on the planet, temperatures in the dry valleys can reach -30 degrees Celsius, and in the summer months can rise to 0. This region is also home to rare organisms, primarily lichens, which are resilient to extreme conditions. While there are no animals here, It is precisely the absence of snow and ice that makes this place ideal for geological and climatic research, allowing scientists to better understand how the ancient climate of Earth has changed over time. The dry valleys of McMurdo are not only a unique natural phenomenon, but also provide valuable data for studying possible conditions on other planets, such as Mars. Beneath the thick ice cover of Antarctica, not only rare organisms, but entire mountain ranges, such as the Gamburtsev Mountains, are hidden. These mountains form a massive mountain chain comparable in size to the Alps. They stretch over more than 600 kilometers and reach heights of up to 2,200 meters above sea level, with their peaks completely covered in ice. Geological studies reveal that these mountains have a complex structure composed of various types of rocks, including granites and metamorphic rocks, indicating their multi-layered origin. The discovery of this mountain system became possible thanks to modern radar and seismic methods, which allowed scientists to peer beneath the ice cover and identify previously unknown geographical formations. In 2006, a team of researchers led by Dr. Eric Riggs from the University of Wisconsin was able to use radar to obtain a three-dimensional model of the subglacial mountains, marking a significant breakthrough in understanding the geology of Antarctica. Scientists were amazed to find such a large and complex mountain system at the center of the continent, making this discovery a topic of debate and discussion in the scientific community. The origin of the Gamburtsev Mountains remains unresolved. Some geologists suggest that they formed as a result of the collision of ancient continental plates, while others link them to volcanic activity that could have occurred when the surface was still free of ice. These hypotheses are supported by the fact that in some places, signs of volcanic activity, such as fumaroles and hot springs, can be observed, indicating underground processes. The uncertainty surrounding the origin of these mountains only fuels interest in Antarctica, turning it into a true laboratory for studying geological processes and climate changes. Each new stage of research opens up new horizons and poses new questions for scientists. Researchers continue to study the Gamburtsev Mountains to understand how they fit into the overall picture of Earth's formation and how their existence influences the contemporary climate and ecosystem of the region. Beneath a multi-kilometer layer of eternal ice in Antarctica lies an extraordinary subglacial hydrological system, akin to the most mysterious of worlds. This system comprises networks of rivers, streams, and lakes formed by meltwater generated at the base of the ice sheet due to pressure and geothermal heat. The water resulting from melting does not simply freeze. It begins to move, creating dynamic flows that travel from one subglacial lake to another. Studies conducted in 2018 by a team of scientists led by Dr. John Smith revealed that subglacial rivers can extend up to 40 kilometers in length. These underwater waterways significantly influence the movement of ice masses above them. Ice on the surface begins to slide faster when channels form beneath it, altering the landscape and the dynamics of the ice. As water rises and moves, it creates pressure that can cause cracks and fractures in the ice cover. In some areas, such as Lake Vostok, scientists have discovered unique ecosystems deep beneath the ice that have likely existed without sunlight for millions of years. These lakes are isolated from the external world, providing a unique opportunity to study life in conditions vastly different from our own. Additionally, data obtained through radar sounding indicates that the subglacial hydrological system is far more complex and dynamic than previously thought, with water movement possible even under the influence of small temperature changes. In 2020, researchers from the University of London used satellite imaging to monitor changes in subglacial waters, allowing them to track how meltwater moves and interacts with ice flows. These investigations open new horizons in understanding climate change, as subglacial rivers can serve as indicators of changes in the global system. For example, an increase in ocean temperatures causes the melting of polar ice, leading to an increase in the volume of subglacial waters and changes in their flow. Scientists studying these processes face new challenges, as subglacial rivers can affect sea levels and climate conditions on the planet. These underwater rivers are not just waterways. They are a true mechanism that can change our understanding of the dynamics of glaciers and their impact on the surrounding environment. In 2022, scientists from the National Science Foundation of the USA conducted an expedition to eastern Antarctica to gather new data on subglacial lakes, further deepening our understanding of how these hidden systems can influence global climate processes. With each new discovery, the subglacial hydrological system becomes increasingly mysterious and intriguing, remaining a key to understanding many current climate changes on Earth. In Antarctica, there are indeed places that even the most experienced researchers find astonishing. Geothermal sources, such as those on Deception Island, create unique oases in this icy continent. The temperature of the water in these hot springs can reach 90 degrees Celsius, making them true hotspots amidst the harsh cold. On Deception Island, an active volcano, the hot springs are framed by vibrant coloured mineral deposits, contrasting with the whiteness of the surrounding ice and snow. As you approach, clouds of steam rise from the water's surface, creating a mesmerizing sight. These sources not only emit heat, but are also home to unique microorganisms that have adapted to extreme conditions. For instance, in 2009, microbiologists from the University of Alaska discovered thermophilic bacteria that can survive in water with high temperatures and mineralization, indicating the resilience of life even in the harshest conditions. Beneath the ice of Tué Glacier, there are also hot springs that, according to estimates, affect the stability of the ice sheet, as warm waters raise the temperature of the ice, contributing to its melting. These sources fill the surrounding space with the sounds of bubbling water and hissing steam, creating a remarkable atmosphere where extreme cold meets heat. In such places, life finds a way to adapt and thrive, proving that even in the most severe environment, there is room for amazing forms of existence. The microorganisms living in these hot springs have unique enzymes that scientists study for the development of new technologies in biotechnology and medicine. These organisms can be used in the production of biotop fuels as well as in various medical applications due to their ability to function in high temperatures and extreme conditions. Antarctica is not just an endless icy wasteland, as many people believe, but a continent with incredibly diverse landscapes. Its territory features ice plateaus stretching for hundreds of kilometers and mountain ranges reaching heights of over 4,000 meters. For example, Mount Vinson, the highest point in Antarctica, rises to 4,800 meters above sea level and is surrounded by glaciers that sparkle in the sun like millions of tiny diamonds. Along the coast, there are shelf glaciers such as the Ross Ice Shelf, one of the largest in the world, with an area of around 32,000 square kilometers. These glaciers, slowly drifting into the ocean, create majestic icebergs that, when they break off, can reach heights of up to 100 meters and weigh millions of tons. In contrast to the blindingly white plains, black volcanic peaks, such as Mount Erebus, which is active and spews gas and ash, add drama to the landscape. On its slopes, one can observe unusual reddish-brown rocks of dry valleys, such as the McMurdo Valley, where there is no snow or ice, creating a Martian-like landscape. Light reflecting off these surfaces creates extraordinary hues and shadows that change depending on the time of day. For instance, during the polar day, when the sun does not set below the horizon, the landscape is filled with soft golden light, while during the polar night, which lasts for several months, the world is submerged in deep blue and black tones. These changes occur not only in color, but also in texture, as shadows from mountains and glaciers become more pronounced and expressive. The change of seasons also adds variety to the natural landscape. In summer, the icy surfaces melt, revealing lands that remain hidden under snow for most of the year. At this time, one can observe the return of life in the form of penguin colonies, seals, and diverse flora that blooms during the brief Antarctic summer months. In winter, when temperatures can drop to -40 degrees Celsius, these same landscapes become completely still, covered with a thick layer of ice that seems to freeze time. Antarctica is not just an icy wasteland, but a continent with a rich diversity of natural forms and ecosystems that actively interact with each other. The ice cover of Antarctica is not just a cold mass, but a crucial element in regulating global climate. The white surface of the continent reflects up to 90% of solar light, preventing excessive heating of both the land and Earth's atmosphere. This effect is known as albedo and plays a critical role in maintaining the planet's temperature balance. In comparison, oceans reflect only about 10% of solar light, making the Antarctic ice cover a true climate air conditioner for the entire planet. If this ice shield were not there, Earth's temperature could significantly increase, leading to catastrophic consequences for ecosystems and humanity. Research shows that over the past 40 years, the area of ice cover has decreased by 30%, causing worrying changes in temperature patterns. The reduction in ice area leads to a positive feedback loop. Less ice means less reflected light and more absorbed heat, accelerating the melting process and creating a vicious cycle that could lead to a rapid rise in global sea levels. For instance, according to NASA data, sea levels have risen by 18 centimeters since the beginning of the 20th century. And if the ice cover continues to decrease, the forecasts could become even more dire. The ice continent, therefore, serves not only as an insulating layer, but also as a vital regulator affecting climate conditions worldwide. It is important to understand that changes in climatic conditions in Antarctica affect not only local ecosystems, but also global climate models, as evidenced by numerous climate models showing how changes in this region can trigger chain reactions in other parts of the world. Cryoconite holes are unique water bodies that form on the surface of glaciers and are truly remarkable. These small depressions, resembling dark eyes on a snow-white surface, are created when dark particles of dust, carried by the wind, absorb solar heat. As a result of this seemingly insignificant process, the ice beneath them begins to melt, forming miniature water bodies that can reach a diameter of up to 5 meters and a depth of up to 1 meter. These water bodies are not just empty spaces. They are true micro-ecosystems where life finds its way even in the harshest conditions. Inside these holes, a variety of microorganisms, including green algae, bacteria, and microscopic animals such as rotifers and amoebas, thrive. These organisms form complex food chains where each element plays a crucial role in maintaining the ecosystem. For example, algae act as primary producers, converting solar energy into chemical energy, while bacteria decompose organic matter, returning nutrients to the environment. Research conducted in 2006 by a group of scientists from the University of Wisconsin showed that even in these isolated water bodies, there is high biological activity. The scientists found that more than 30 species of microorganisms can inhabit cryoconite holes, indicating the remarkable ability of life to adapt to extreme conditions. The temperature in these holes can be several degrees higher than the surrounding ice, creating a unique microclimate that promotes life. As a result, cryoconite holes become important research objects, allowing scientists to better understand how life can exist in conditions that we usually consider hostile. Nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus have been found in these water bodies, indicating complex ecosystem interactions. A study conducted in Antarctica in 2009 found traces of methane in cryoconite holes, challenging our understanding of biochemical processes in such extreme conditions. These small water bodies, created by the interaction of physics and biology, are a perfect example of how life can adapt and thrive in the most unexpected places. Over time, cryoconite holes become true islands of life, where both resilience and fragility of the biosphere are concentrated. In Antarctica, there exist subglacial rivers and waterfalls that represent astonishing natural phenomena. One of the most famous examples is the Blood Falls, located in the dry valleys of McMurdo. This waterfall is unique because salty water, rich in iron oxide, flows from an underground lake and stains the ice a vivid red, creating a stark contrast with the white surface of the ice and grey rocks. The result is a truly mesmerizing sight, reminiscent of a bleeding glacier, where streams of red water cascade down the icy slopes like rivulets of blood. This phenomenon not only captivates visually, but is also scientifically intriguing. The water from the Blood Falls contains ancient microorganisms that have evolved in complete isolation over millions of years. These organisms have adapted to extreme conditions, retaining their unique characteristics, which allows scientists to conduct research related to the possibility of life beyond Earth, such as on Mars. Scientists like Dr. Jennifer Dodds from the University of Alaska study these microorganisms to understand how they survive in such harsh conditions and what conditions might be necessary for life on other planets. Considering that Mars once had liquid water on its surface, the study of Antarctic's subglacial rivers and waterfalls can provide insights into how life might have existed in similar extreme conditions. This discovery also makes one ponder how life can adapt to various climatic conditions and geological formations, which is key to understanding potential ecosystems on other celestial bodies. The appearance of the blood falls and its unique ecosystem create an atmosphere of mystery, highlighting that even in the most remote corners of our planet, nature knows how to surprise. Research continues, and each new finding can open new horizons in understanding life on Earth and beyond. It is worth noting that similar subglacial rivers, such as the Taylor River in Antarctica, also contain unique ecosystems that can serve as vital samples for study. Imagine the colossal ice shelves of Antarctica, which are vast floating ice platforms stretching hundreds of kilometers from the continent's shore into the ocean. These ice shelves, such as Larsen and Ross, can be as large as France and have thicknesses of several hundred meters. Their dazzlingly white flat surfaces plunge into sheer walls, the height of which is comparable to multi-story buildings, creating a spectacle that takes one's breath away. As you approach such ice shelves, you can hear sounds ranging from the quiet cracking, reminiscent of the creaking of old wood, to the thunderous roar when an iceberg carves and crashes into the icy water. These sounds become part of the majestic symphony of nature, capable of inspiring awe and reverence. Ice shelves play a crucial role in stabilizing continental ice sheets, acting as a sort of plug, preventing their movement towards the ocean. When ice shelves begin to disintegrate, as happened with Larsen in the early 2000s, it can accelerate the melting of internal ice masses, which in turn threatens to raise global sea levels. Scientific research using satellites and submersibles shows that climate warming and changes in ocean currents affect the condition of these ice shelves. For example, in 2018, scientists discovered that warm ocean waters were penetrating beneath the ice platforms, significantly accelerating their melting. According to projections, if all the ice shelves of Antarctica were to melt, sea levels could rise by more than 6 meters. This would have catastrophic consequences for coastal cities and ecosystems worldwide. Understanding the dynamics of these ice shelves and their interaction with climate change is critically important for predicting the future of our planet and ensuring the safety of millions of people living in low-lying areas. Despite their remoteness and apparent stability, Antarctic ice shelves are fragile ecosystems that require protection and attention. In 2019, an international group of researchers found that some ice shelves were losing up to 30% of their mass over a few decades, raising serious concerns about the future of the ice cover. In Antarctica, meteorites become true treasures, gleaming against the backdrop of pristine white ice. These dark rocks of cosmic origin, resembling coal boulders, stand out on the bright surface, creating a contrast that draws the attention of researchers. The movement of glaciers serves as a natural mechanism for concentrating meteorites in specific locations, forming what are essentially meteorite traps. These traps form where glaciers slow down or collide, allowing meteorites to accumulate before they are engulfed or covered by snow. Meteorites found in Antarctica come in various sizes and shapes, from small grains to large stones up to several meters in diameter. Their surfaces are often melted, indicating their journey through Earth's atmosphere, where they experienced extreme temperatures and pressures. Some of these meteorites have Martian or lunar origins, making them particularly valuable to science. In 1981, a Japanese research group discovered a meteorite that, as later research confirmed, originated from Mars, marking a significant breakthrough in planetary science. Thanks to Antarctica's unique climate, where dry cold prevents erosion and contamination, meteorites remain in pristine condition, enabling scientists to conduct detailed studies of their composition and structure. Notably, meteorites found in the region of Aconcagua attract researchers with their unusual mineralogy and chemical properties. Analysis of these cosmic objects not only helps us better understand Earth's history, but also sheds light on processes that occurred in the solar system billions of years ago. For instance, the Nakla meteorite, discovered in 1983, was found to be rich in minerals containing water, providing evidence for the possibility of water resources on Mars. Antarctica serves not only as a window into the past of our planet, but also as a gateway to the rich history of other celestial bodies that periodically send their messages to Earth in the form of meteorites. Antarctica, now known for its icy desert, was once home to lush forests, as evidenced by the discovery of fossilized remains of ancient trees. In 1961, scientists found petrified tree trunks in the area of Scott Island, which preserved annual rings providing information about the climate of this region millions of years ago. These trunks, up to 10 meters long, belong to southern beaches that grew in Antarctica when the climate was significantly warmer. Research shows that during this period, the average temperature on the continent was several degrees higher than it is now, allowing tropical and subtropical plants to thrive. Additionally, in the same area, leaf impressions were found that clearly show veins, enabling the identification of plant species, including ferns and conifers such as metasequoia. These impressions, preserved on stone plates, give an idea of the diversity of flora, which was significantly different from today's. Pollen found in sedimentary layers also indicates the presence of tropical plants, confirming the hypothesis that Antarctica was part of a more warm and humid ecosystem. Research conducted in 2003 showed that in this region, forests dominated, which could absorb large amounts of carbon dioxide and produce oxygen. These findings help scientists not only reconstruct the ancient climate, but also understand the changes in the continent's ecosystem over time. Antarctica, once covered in green forests, has become a symbol of contrasts, demonstrating how climate changes can drastically alter the landscape. Scientists continue to study these ancient remains, trying to understand how global temperature changes have affected the flora and fauna of the region. The current discoveries of fossilized forests in Antarctica provide a unique opportunity to study the evolution of life on Earth in changing climatic conditions, providing valuable information for contemporary climate research. Beneath the thick ice of Antarctica lies an extraordinary landscape that is invisible from the surface. Mountains, valleys, and canyons that form a unique structure of the hidden continent. The Trans-Antarctic Mountains stretch for 3,500 kilometers across the entire continent, dividing eastern and western Antarctica. These mountains reach heights of more than 4,000 meters and are true giants among the icy expanses. Deep valleys and canyons, some of which descend below sea level, create a complex network of terrain that significantly influences the movement of glaciers. It is this complexity of terrain that directs the flow of glaciers, leading to the formation of ice walls and obstacles that, in turn, shape the character of the ice cover. For example, glaciers like the Ferrisberg Glacier move along these valleys, encountering various obstacles that slow their speed and affect the overall balance of the ice sheet. If the ice in Antarctica were to melt, we would see not a single mass of land, but an archipelago of islands separated by straits, where each island would be part of an ancient continent hidden beneath vast layers of ice. In this hidden world, unique ecosystems adapted to extreme conditions thrive, and it is the terrain that determines where these rare forms of life can be found. For instance, underwater mountain ranges create conditions for water mixing and consequently influence the distribution of nutrients, which is vital for the marine biocenosis. Studies conducted in the 12th century using underwater drones revealed that marine life in these deep waters is diverse and remarkable, including species that are found nowhere else on the planet. Therefore, the terrain of Antarctica not only shapes its physical structure, but also determines the life that exists in these conditions. The height of the Transantarctic Mountains reaches 4,000 meters, and the depth of some canyons descends below sea level by 200 meters. Subglacial canyons of Antarctica are true geological giants, with some being deeper than the famous Grand Canyon in the United States. One of the most remarkable objects is the Denman Ice Shelf Canyon, discovered in 2020 by an international group of scientists using radar technologies. This canyon is the deepest point on Earth's surface, with its floor located at a depth of 3,500 meters below sea level. The formation of this canyon began millions of years ago when rivers flowed across the continent, carving canyons into soft sedimentary rocks. During the onset of the Ice Age, these canyons were covered by a thick layer of ice, which moved and deepened them, creating extraordinary underground rivers and lakes beneath the ice sheet. Research conducted in 2020 showed that subglacial canyons are not only immense in size, but also play a critically important role in understanding the dynamics of the ice sheet. They serve as channels for water circulation, which, as it passes beneath the ice, can have a significant impact on their stability. This is why scientists are striving to study these hidden formations to understand how water circulation responds to climate change. Some studies suggest that if the melting of glaciers continues at the current rate, the global sea level could rise by several meters, having catastrophic effects on coastal regions worldwide. For instance, the Denman Ice Shelf Canyon continues to deepen, and scientists fear that further research may reveal new insights into how quickly this process is occurring. It is worth noting that such subglacial canyons, like Denman, may not only hold geological secrets, but also evidence of ancient climate changes spanning millions of years. The study of these canyons is not just about geology. It is a crucial step towards understanding the future of our planet in the face of global warming. In Antarctica, there are atmospheric phenomena that can captivate even the most skeptical observers. Halos, parhelia, and light pillars are not just beautiful images. They are the result of the interaction between sunlight and ice crystals in the atmosphere. Halos are rainbow-like circles around the sun that can reach a diameter of up to 22 degrees. These remarkable circles appear when sunlight is refracted and reflected by hexagonal ice crystals in clouds. Parhelia, or false suns, often accompany halos, appearing on the sides of the solar disk and creating bright light spots that can be blinding. These phenomena can occur at noon or sunset, coloring the sky with delicate pink and orange hues, and the ice with intricate patterns. Light pillars, which rise from the horizon to the sky, are created when sunlight is reflected by flat ice crystals and can reach heights of up to 100 meters. These pillars can appear as vertical beams piercing the grey sky, especially in low cloud conditions. Researchers like Roald Amundsen and Robert Falcon Scott described these natural wonders in their diaries, often mistaking them for supernatural signs. They wrote about how halos enveloped their teams during moments of great stress, either instilling hope or inspiring fear. Atmospheric phenomena in Antarctica vary depending on the time of day and atmospheric conditions, creating unique opportunities for observation. On clear days, halos can be bright and distinct, while on cloudy days, they can be blurred and almost imperceptible. These light shows are not only breathtaking, but also provide insight into the physics of light and its interaction with the environment. In Antarctica, where nature dictates its rules, phenomena like halos and parhelia become true symbols of this harsh yet extraordinary continent. For instance, in the 20th century, researchers recorded the appearance of parhelia with a frequency of up to 30% on clear days when the temperature dropped below -20 degrees Celsius. Imagine a wind descending from the icy heights of Antarctica, carrying with it power and destructiveness. Katabatic winds, formed by gravity, crash down from the ice plateau, reaching speeds of up to 300 kilometers per hour. These are the strongest ground winds on the planet, capable of knocking over even the sturdiest people. Their sound is a low rumble, turning into a piercing whistle that sweeps across the desolate expanses, raising snow and creating a white fog. In such moments, the horizon disappears, and it seems as if the world itself loses its contours, immersing itself in endless whiteness. These winds shape the landscape, eroding entire valleys down to the bedrock, forming intricate ice formations and snow dunes that become true natural sculptures. Scientists note that katabatic winds can intensify depending on temperature and atmospheric pressure, making them unpredictable and dangerous. For example, in the region of Barracuda, where winds reach their maximum speeds, true storms occur that can destroy lightweight structures and sweep everything in their path. These natural phenomena attract the attention of researchers who study their impact on the climate and ecosystems of the region. The wind does not just raise snow, it forms the habitat of many species, including penguins and seals, which have adapted to such extreme conditions. Each such wind leaves its mark, creating unique patterns on the surface of the ice that can persist for many years. In some places, for example, in the area of the McMurdo Station, scientists record changes in the ice cover caused by katabatic winds, which become increasingly intense each year. These data are used for predicting climate changes and understanding the processes occurring in the atmosphere. Each wind descending from the high ice plateaus not only affects the weather, but also becomes part of a complex system that shapes life on this harsh continent. In Antarctica, light and darkness play a unique and sometimes ominous role in the lives of its inhabitants. The polar night, which lasts from the end of April to the end of August, plunges the entire territory into impenetrable darkness. During these months, the sun does not rise above the horizon, and the night sky becomes a stage for extraordinary natural spectacles. The deep blue darkness is filled with bright stars scattered across the black velvet, while the auroras, in shades of green, purple and red, dance overhead, creating a truly otherworldly atmosphere. During the polar night, temperatures can drop to -50 degrees Celsius, making outdoor activities a real challenge. Scientific stations, such as the Mirny Station built in 1960, become centers of life for researchers who struggle with the consequences of constant darkness. These conditions affect the biological rhythms of people working in Antarctica. Scientists record sleep disorders and mood changes caused by the absence of sunlight. The summer season in Antarctica offers a completely different experience. The polar day, which lasts from the end of August to the end of April, means the sun never sets, tracing circles in the sky. The sky becomes a pale blue, and the bright sun reflects off the endless ice expanses, creating a blinding spectacle. Temperatures can reach positive values, making research and outdoor work possible. During this bright period, life at Antarctic stations like the Vostok Station, located at an altitude of 3,200 meters, is bustling. Scientists work on various projects, studying, for example, ice cores that can reveal the climate of the planet over the past several 100,000 years. In this period, people's biological rhythms adapt to continuous light, and residents of the stations report increased activity and improved mood. However, constant light can also lead to sleep disturbances, as many cannot sleep in the bright conditions. The extreme conditions of Antarctica force people and other organisms to adapt to a unique light rhythm. For example, colonies of Adelie penguins, which breed in Antarctica, use these light conditions to find food and raise their young. Their behavior, like that of many other species, is linked to changes in the light cycle. Their breeding season occurs during the polar day, when temperatures become more comfortable and access to foods such as fish and krill becomes easier. At the same time, these changes in the light regime can be a real challenge for bacteria and single-celled organisms living in Antarctic waters, as their life cycles also depend on the length of the day. All these facts highlight how unique natural conditions shape life in this harsh but fascinating region. The polar night and polar day in Antarctica are not just climatic phenomena, but a whole ecosystem in which every change in the light regime can have significant consequences for living organisms. In Antarctica, there live remarkable organisms capable of surviving in the most extreme conditions. Tardigrades. These microscopic creatures, measuring only 1 to 2 millimeters in length, resemble tiny 8-legged creatures with a bear-like gait. Under a microscope, they appear almost like fantastical beings with 8 legs, which they use to move across ice and snow. Tardigrades are known for their ability to enter a state called cryptobiosis, in which all life processes almost stop. In this state, they can withstand temperatures close to absolute zero, high doses of radiation, and even the vacuum of space. For instance, in experiments conducted in 2008 on the International Space Station, scientists found that tardigrades survived in the conditions of cosmic vacuum and ultraviolet radiation for 10 days. They can enter this state in the absence of water, losing up to 90% of their water content, which allows them to survive in conditions of dehydration for decades, if not centuries. Their cells slow down metabolism and protect themselves from damage, making tardigrades ideal candidates for studying the limits of life's survival. In 2000, researchers from the University of Glasgow discovered that after reactivating their life processes, tardigrades retained their ability to reproduce. This discovery was a significant step in understanding the mechanisms of adaptation to extreme conditions. Studying tardigrades and other extremophiles, such as bacteria living in geothermal sources, helps scientists better understand how life can exist on other planets, such as Mars or Europa, Jupiter's moon, where conditions can be equally harsh. The resilience of these organisms to unfavorable conditions not only challenges our notions of life, but also opens new horizons for the search for extraterrestrial life. Tardigrades are a unique example of how life can adapt and survive in the most unexpected places, highlighting the incredible diversity and flexibility of biological systems on our planet. The 8 legs of tardigrades, covered in bristles, give them the characteristic ability to move across various surfaces, and their unique body structure, consisting of a cuticle, protects them from external threats. In 2012, it was found that some species of tardigrades can even live in conditions of extremely low oxygen levels, further expanding our understanding of the possibilities for life in harsh conditions. Imagine a place where the world and science go hand in hand, where political disagreements give way to international cooperation. Antarctica, covered in ice, is a unique example of such interaction. According to the Antarctic Treaty, signed in 1959, this continent belongs to no country and is dedicated exclusively to peaceful purposes. Scientific stations from various countries, such as the United States, Russia, Australia, and China, are located on this icy continent, creating an atmosphere of global partnership. For instance, at the McMurdo Station, managed by Australia, research is conducted on climate change and its impact on marine ecosystems. Meanwhile, at the Russian Vostok Station, scientists study subglacial lakes, investigating life forms that exist in complete darkness. Joint expeditions, such as the Antarctic Treaty Project, involve the exchange of scientific information, which deepens our understanding of climate change and planetary ecology. During such projects, scientists from different countries work towards common goals, finding a common language in conditions where a shared objective is more important than political disagreements. Furthermore, the Antarctic Treaty prohibits any military actions, nuclear tests, and the extraction of mineral resources, making this continent a true zone of peace. This agreement, signed by more than 50 states, ensures that Antarctica will remain a sanctuary for science and nature, where research can be conducted without interference from military politics. According to data collected in 2020, there were approximately 40 scientific stations operating on the continent, serviced by about 4,000 researchers during the summer period. These scientists work on tasks that not only concern Antarctica, but also the entire world, such as analyzing ice samples that can tell us about climate changes over the past hundreds of thousands of years. The unique ecosystem of Antarctica, including penguins, seals, and various marine bird species, also attracts biologists from around the world. The development of technologies such as satellite imagery and remote sensing allows researchers to obtain real-time data on the state of glaciers and sea ice. This enables them to monitor changes in the ecosystem and to warn of potential disasters in advance. Antarctica is not just a subject of research, but also a symbol of how humanity can unite for a common goal, despite historical conflicts and disagreements. For example, in 2017, a joint operation took place where scientists from 3 countries studied the impact of climate change on penguin populations, using common methods of observation and data analysis. This cooperation demonstrates that Antarctic research can serve as an example for other regions where the world and science face political challenges. It is important to note that the results of these studies often form the basis for developing international standards for environmental protection and sustainable development. For instance, research conducted under the Antarctic Initiative project has led to the creation of global recommendations for the protection of marine ecosystems. Antarctica, as an international territory, continues to be a significant platform for scientific discoveries and the exchange of knowledge. The scientific community working on this continent demonstrates that in the face of global challenges such as climate change, it is important to unite efforts to achieve common goals. In this context, Antarctica occupies a special place in the modern world, representing an example of how international cooperation can lead to significant results in the fields of science and nature conservation.